Opera House Secrets, Interiors, Innovation, and Utzon's Legacy, the Sacred Land, Beneath the Sails. Long before the world-renowned sails of the Sydney Opera House graced the skyline, the land it occupies was already a gathering place of immense cultural significance. Known as Tubalgul by the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, this land was not simply a site. It was a living space for storytelling, dance, and ceremony. Thousands of years before European arrival, Tubalgul served as a platform for performance, connection, and knowledge sharing. It was a spiritual theater beneath the stars. In 1788, the British arrived, and the land became known as Bennelong Point, named after Wular Awara Bennelong, a senior Eora man. Kidnapped by the first governor of New South Wales, Arthur Phillip, Bennelong eventually acted as an intermediary between the colonists and the Eora people. In return, he was given a hut on the point, symbolizing an uneasy collaboration, a place of contact between two vastly different worlds. This location later saw the construction of Fort Macquarie in the 19th century, and then, around the turn of the 20th century, a tram depot. It wasn't until the mid-20th century that Bennelong Point would be reborn as a canvas for cultural expression once again.
A dream cast in concrete. In the early 1950s, Australia stood at a cultural crossroads. A sense of national identity was forming, and there was a growing call for an architectural emblem to mark the country's creative ambitions. The Premier of New South Wales, Joseph Cahill, alongside Eugene Goosens, the conductor of the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, championed the vision of a world-class performing arts centre. A design competition was announced in 1956. By its close, 233 entries from 32 countries had been submitted. Among them was Design 218, a radical concept by Danish architect Jørn Utzon. His proposal broke all conventions. While other entries arranged performance venues in a linear row, Utzon placed the major halls side by side, their soaring roof shells appearing to unfurl over Bennelong Point like wind-filled sails or rising cliffs. The inspiration for these shells became one of the project's most famous engineering stories. For 3 years, Utzon and engineers from Ovi Arup and partners struggled to solve the geometry of the roof. Eventually, Utzon had an epiphany. Each shell segment could be derived from a sphere. This not only retained the original artistic integrity of the design, but also allowed the prefabrication of concrete segments. It was a breakthrough in both architectural vision and construction technique. Entirely funded through public lottery, the project was both a source of national pride and controversy. Over 10,000 workers contributed to the build between 1958 and 1973. No deaths occurred on site, despite the daring construction conditions and lack of modern safety equipment. But the utopian vision would fracture. By 1965, political tides had turned. A new Minister for Public Works, Davis Hughes, challenged Utzon's leadership and withheld payment. Utzon, unable to pay his staff, wrote to Hughes stating he would be forced to resign. Hughes accepted this immediately. Despite public outrage at the treatment of Utzon, he would leave Australia, never to return or see with his own eyes his masterpiece finished. In Utzon's wake, alongside Arup and partners, a consortium of 3 Australian architects, Peter Hall, Lionel Todd, and David Littlemore, was appointed to complete the building. Peter Hall, who took creative lead, faced near impossible challenges: no clear documentation, public scrutiny, political pressure, and evolving expectations. One of Hall's biggest design tasks was the complete reconfiguration of what would become the concert hall. Originally envisioned with dual-purpose acoustics for both opera and symphony, it was now to be a single-purpose venue for orchestral music. Hall reimagined the interior with suspended ceiling pedals for acoustic distribution and collaborated with engineers to bring Utzon's unexecuted plans to fruition where possible. Yet the ideological break between the exterior and interior design remains one of the building's most discussed characteristics. On October 20th, 1973, Queen Elizabeth II officially opened the Sydney Opera House. What had begun as a dream in 1956 took 16 years to materialize. Despite its controversial path, it was a moment of national triumph. The Concert Hall. Sound and spectacle. With over 2,700 seats, the Concert Hall is Australia's largest interior performance venue. Visually stunning with its violet seating and cavernous ceiling, it was designed to both awe and perform. The space is dominated by an array of laminated timber panels known as the acoustic clouds, suspended like pedals to modulate sound. The room houses the world's largest mechanical tracker action pipe organ, designed by Ronald Sharp, consisting of over 10,000 pipes. In 2022, the venue underwent a significant refurbishment to improve acoustics and accessibility. Architects Arm Architecture and acousticians from Muller BBM rebalanced the hall with sound-reflective wall panels and a custom-built stage riser system. Lighting, timber selection, and ceiling heights. Each element was a careful balance between sculptural drama and functional perfection. For interior designers, the concert hall remains a masterclass in adaptive acoustics meeting spatial poetry.
The other stage is Joan Sutherland Theatre. Named after Australia's most famous soprano, this venue is dedicated to opera and ballet. With its proscenium arch and advanced stage mechanics, it handles elaborate set changes with ease. Its interiors are deep red, plush, and atmospheric, a dramatic counterpoint to the concert hall, drama theater, and playhouse. These black box-style venues are more intimate. The use of warm timber and tiered seating creates closeness between the audience and the performer, enhancing immersion. The Studio A flexible performance space, often used for contemporary, experimental, and multimedia shows. Here, lighting and projection design take architectural precedence over fixed interiors. The Utzon Room, the only interior space realized entirely to Utzon's design. The room features a north-facing window framing Sydney Harbour, a custom-designed tapestry, and golden birch plywood walls. It is serene, minimal, and spiritually aligned with Utzon's original architectural philosophy. The Invisible Machine. The Opera House is a backstage wonderland. Hydraulic lifts can raise entire orchestras. A subterranean passage allows trucks to enter the complex for loading gear directly beneath the stages. There are over 1,000 rooms, many of which are off-limits to the public, from rehearsal halls to engineering control centers. Each corridor was painted in color codes to help performers and crew navigate quickly. The HVAC system is powered by seawater from Sydney Harbour, an early example of sustainable building systems. Material choices were both aesthetic and utilitarian. Over 1 million roof tiles made in Sweden, off-white yet reflecting golden hues. Australian brushbox timber in foyers for warmth, and speckled concrete flooring that absorbs wear gracefully over time.
A living monument. Today, the Sydney Opera House is not just a building, but a living monument to design, culture, and reconciliation. Recent renewal projects include modernizing the performance venues, improving accessibility, and deepening engagement with Indigenous culture. In 2007, the Opera House became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The inscription calls it a great artistic monument and an icon of modern architecture. Its strength lies in its duality, a building that is at once complete and evolving, historic and future-facing, ancient in spirit and modern in form. A place for artists, for audiences, for architects, and for all who believe in the enduring power of great design.
The legacy beyond the sails. The Sydney Opera House is more than a cultural landmark. It's an idea made tangible. An architectural symphony of risk, resilience, and reinvention. From its sacred foundations at Tubalgal to the futuristic upgrades of the 21st century, it remains a living, breathing monument to what design can do when it dares to dream big. Its story isn't just about what was built, but what was imagined, lost, rediscovered, and reclaimed. If this deep dive into the Opera House's interiors, innovation, and untold history inspired you, help us keep exploring icons like this. Subscribe, give this video a like, and share it with someone who sees architecture as more than just buildings, someone who sees it as memory, movement, and meaning. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.